PathMonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. PathMonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add PathMonk to your website in seconds. Let the AI do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check this on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Erika Armstrong from Advanced Aircrew Academy. How are you doing today, Erika?
I'm doing great today.
It's great to have you on today's show. Excited to learn a little bit more. We're a little bit discussing a little bit about what Advanced Aircrew Academy is, but let's get our listeners to jump into it as well. In your own words, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so Advanced Aircrew Academy, I'm sure if you're not in aviation, you probably haven't heard of us, but we provide e-learning for the business aviation community. That's the most simplest terms. Primarily, we train pilots, but we also train flight attendants and mechanics and the line guys, the line service crew. So anybody in a corporate flight department. So when you think aviation, everybody thinks of the airlines, but there's this huge growing segment of aviation that caters to the business aviation element. So we're talking about all the corporate jets. And they operate under a different set of regulations that the FAA sets out. And so we cater to those flight departments and set up customized training for them.
Definitely. All right. That's great to hear. And so that everyone that is listening can get a good understanding of what Advanced Aircrew Academy is what would you say then is a key problem that you saw for clients?
Yeah, so aviation, thankfully, is regulated. And every year there's a whole brand new set of rules you have to follow and abide by. They're required every year to do recurrent training if you're operating under FAA Part 135. So what we do is we all of our subject matter experts work in the industry, and they bring that information back from the industry and put it into our training. So we're constantly updating it, making sure the rules and regulations are updated so that a flight department can just sit down, assign training to their employees and know that they've got the most current training. We also provide all the record keeping and everything because the FAA is cracking down on all that. So we try to make it as convenient as possible. Nobody likes training. We know that. And so our goal is to make it interesting. We update it. We make it customizable so that it's not just this rote memorization, because we've all done that. We try to make it interesting. We provide scenarios. We take aircraft incidents and accidents, and we insert what the breakdown was and what you can do in your training to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Awesome. Great to hear that. And some of your clients, then who would they be? I mean, you did mention corporate is what you're segmenting, but is this on a global level? Is this in a North America level, or who do you guys like to focus on the most?
Yeah, we're definitely expanding. We do now, because every country has their oversight, the regulatory oversight, which are slightly different, but we're seeing the world move more towards one set of regulations, and we'd really love to be able to see that happening. So we are actually working with more countries. Primarily, we're doing North America right now. That's under the FAA, but we've also provided some Canadian flight train or ground training, and we're expanding. We've got a lot more customers inquiring about it, and we're definitely expanding our ability to train other countries. When it comes down to it, a lot of the rules and regulations are quite similar. So as long as we can provide that information to show that we're abiding by that regulation, I think over the years you're going to see that expanding more onto one level.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. Great to hear that. And as far as getting those people inside the door for you guys, what would you say is a top client acquisition channel for you, Erika?
So for us, especially for pilots, you got to know your stuff. They know when a marketer doesn't know what they're saying or doing. So thankfully, I've worked in the industry for 30 years. It's the key for marketing myself. In my specific role, I wouldn't be able to do what I did if I didn't work in the industry as well. So I have the ability, we use social media extensively. Our LinkedIn is our favorite platform. Those are our demographics. Those are our people. So that's what we primarily focus on. So I actually use my social media, my personal social media reach, and I bring that into my company reach. So kind of behind the scenes, I can use those connections and feed the social media our information into those my connections feed. So kind of behind the scenes, but I wouldn't be able to do it without both of those going on at the same time.
Definitely great to hear that. And well, now I am here on your website. That's aircrewacademy.com. What role does a website play for client acquisition then?
Yeah, for us, it's huge. Our first goal is to, of course, set the hook, right? We need someone to take that nibble and then bringing them into our website. And so we try to make it, as simple as possible. The problem that we have is there's so much information. We don't want to make it too difficult for somebody. So having that search function, people can type in just the specific training that they're looking for, just those keywords. So for us, that search engine optimization is a huge thing. People wonder why companies write blogs. They aren't necessarily well read. They can be kind of boring because it's industry stuff. But for us, it's really important because we always have changing rules and regulations. So some, like the safety manager, might be Googling how to comply with this rule. And because we've written a blog about it, it will pull people into our website. And then from there, they can go look and see what kind of training modules they can assign their employees to comply with that regulation.
Okay, perfect. Now, let's switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about you as a leader, you being the marketing director there for Advanced Aircrew Academy. What are some key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
So people might think this is a dream job, but it's not necessarily. So my role every morning is to get up and find out what's going on in aviation. So it can be soul crushing to go through social media every morning, but it really is part of our role. We need to find out what's been happening. We specifically track certain key incidents in the industry. So runway excursions, it's not really tracked in the industry because it doesn't really qualify for an accident, but it's a training element that we can correct. And so we're always tracking what's happening in the business aviation news. So in order for me to do that, I've actually, on my own personal side, am involved in many of the aviation groups. And actually, that's where we get a ton of information. It's that inside information. These are professional pilots who communicate and talk on private groups. And so I can see the challenges that are going on for them. And I can take that back into our company, figure out if there's some sort of training element that we can provide to the industry to help almost lead the correction with the training that we're providing. So so us being tapped into the industry is key for us. Social media, for me, it's a marketing dream. That's where my people are. This is where I get to talk and communicate. And we don't advertise on there. We also help share information because at the end of the day, we're all about safety. We want to make sure everybody is safe. And so above and beyond marketing, our company also just brings in information, not necessarily training information, but providing rules and regulations that are changing and what you can do about it. So just being a good leader in the industry has helped us immensely.
Definitely. All right. Awesome to hear that. It's, and especially, what you mentioned, right? Being in top, and I mean, I'm going to ask about it, right? But you having that brand, that social media brand that you already have, with your book and just impulsing everything, I think that's super important. Keeping in touch with what you mentioned about all the laws changing. And if you want to expand, you definitely have to check into that. I think on a constant daily basis. So great to hear that from you. But let's jump into the next section. It's a rapid fire question round. So are you ready for them?
I don't think so, but go ahead.
All right. First off, and you can't answer a chick in the pipe, a chick in the cockpit, my life in the air. But what is the last book that you read?
So the last book I read is also aviation themed. It's called The Art of Clear Thinking. It was written by Hassard Lee, and he is a fighter pilot. So there's so many instances where you could take aviation lessons and bring them into the real world. So he's written some amazing stories talking about his time in flying in Afghanistan, things that the rest of the public just doesn't ever hear about. And pretty intense, but he takes those lessons and can apply it into everyday living. So I love that thought process.
Okay, awesome. Great to hear that. Now, what is one single thing that your company is focused on at the moment the most?
Well, that's the thing with our industry. There is something new every week that we have to focus on. So it can also be a challenging situation for a marketer too, because what you're focused on and the whole team works on one week, all of a sudden the very next week you've got something else going on. So you're always having to evolve and change. And so, you can spend weeks setting up a marketing plan on one particular topic, but then something even more important comes along. So you got to kind of set that aside and move on to the next. So it's always evolving for better or worse.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. Now, if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
So for us, I can't even see the boundaries of our technology right now. I mean, there's for me, the frustration is that other 15% that I can't quite reach. I can get to about 85% of them. So what do you do for those other 15%? I think technology has its limitations, and that's just the end of the conversation there. There's not much more else that we can do except using the old-fashioned methods. So for me, I don't see any boundary for the technology right now, and for us, it's everything. So for us, it's boundless.
Okay, perfect. Now, like you mentioned, you do have a lot of experience already in the aviation world and marketing experience. But what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
I think that I probably have been resistant to looking at new platforms. I kind of have gotten myself set on a way of doing marketing. So when I see other stuff coming by, I put the blinders on because I'm like, what I'm doing is working. But I think over the next few years, we're going to see a lot more platforms now that we're seeing Twitter and X and all those things kind of diminish in their range and capability. So I think paying more attention to what the next up and coming thing, I would love to have a little more insight into that and watching that. So for me, it would be just paying attention and not being afraid to try the new platforms.
Definitely great advice there. Well, Erica, thanks a lot for being on the show with us today. I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about Advanced Aircrew Academy?
Advanced Aircrew Academy is unique in training because we can customize everything to what your flight department's doing. And we know pilots get bored. We've all been there. So we know how to provide training that will change the safety culture of your company. And that's everything.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica, for being on with us today. And looking forward to our next episode at Path Monk Presents. Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you for having me.